What's a random ass thing you remember from your childhood? I remember my dad trying to drown me. My brother also remembers this, but my mother denied it ever happened until my wedding day. Well, this got dark and wet. My mom trusted me to post a letter for her, and I put it down a drain, cause drain grills kinda look like a letter box. Well, at least you posted it. I called a bulldozer a duck once. When Shrek came out, Heinz released ketchup in bright green and purple. The time in first grade, one called the teacher mom, and then the whole class started laughing and I stood up and started crying, and as soon as it got quiet I farted loudly. I once had a dream where a gorilla walked into my room, grabbed and casually ripped out my hair. It didn't hurt though. Ate it, and then walked out. That's it. Has stuck with me for 20 years. When I was in kindergarten, I had a 3-part dream, monsieur. I know it was kindergarten, since when my mom would wake me up for school she would ask about my dreams. Anyway, each night for 3 consecutive nights I had virtually the same dream, monsieur. Plot went like this. My 2 brothers and I would be playing in our backyard, when we would hear a lot of yelling coming from the neighborhood. All of the houses were on the same side because the building across the street was one long warehouse. We run to the front yard to see a T-Rex walking up the road. The 3 of us run inside and grab baseball bats and hockey sticks, etc., and run outside and battle the T-Rex, eventually killing it. The next night the dream was identical, with one difference. The T-Rex had no skin, its muscles exposed, but everything else was unchanged. We battled and killed Fit with the same makeshift weapons. The third night the T-Rex was just a skeleton, and again everything else about the dream was the same. They are still the coolest dreams I have ever had. The trilogy dream, monsieur. Someone my mom knew came over for a visit. Her son and I went outside to play. He accidentally rattled a bee's nest. They started swarming. He yelled, "Run for your life." So I did. The last thing I remember was looking back while running away and seeing him punching the bees. I don't know who he was or what happened to him, monsieur. My mom has no recollection of this. That sounds like that movie where the kid dies from being bitten up by bees, lol. I remember laying in a play tent on my back with my legs crossed in the air, bobbing my foot, surrounded by stuffed animals, looking at a picture book pretending I could read, either in preschool or kindergarten. It's a nice little calming flash of childhood that pops into my head every now and then. And I'm over here remembering the time I had a severe crying meltdown in a Pizza Hut because I, in my own words at the time, forgot how to use a fork. We were like 2 years old, in the kindergarten, and the teacher asked us if we drink milk from the baby bottle or from the mug. Everybody answered, but there was this guy who said, "I drink from the glass." I never forgot that moment for some reason. Pretty rondo, monsieur. I remember buying a Sprite as kid because my dad liked it and I grew to like it as well. And the girl that went to my school said, "Look at the grandpa with the Sprite." I dunno. She looked older than me, and I still remember that random thing 10 years later. Bunny man. Weird dude in a bunny suit used to roll up outside my elementary school on a custom bike, blaring creepy carnival music out of a portable record player. Sped up, too, so the voices were high and warbled. It was a whole thing. Parents were worried he was a pedophile and trying to groom or abduct a kid. I remember when I was 5 or 6, a guy from my neighborhood told me happy birthday. I responded, "Happy birthday to you too, Tommy." Then I ran away mortified that I had responded to his happy birthday with the same reply. I felt like such a putz. Plot twist, it was his birthday too, so my response surprised him, "Monsieur, I had no idea. I wonder if he remembered your birthday because you and him share the same day." I accidentally found masturbation by continuously rubbing my crotch on the sofa armrest. It's a good way to give your arm a rest. I remember when the Yorkie bars were advertised as not for girls. Forward thinking, aren't they? When I was 6 I got really upset because I wanted one but they were not for girls, but I took that literally because I was a kid. Nowadays, I eat Yorkies a lot purely out of spite because I have never forgotten the torment they caused me all those years ago. They taste great, though. Greater than nowadays. I eat Yorkies a lot purely out of spite because I have never forgotten the torment they caused me all those years ago. As far as dogs go, they're annoying, but I feel like this takes it a little too far. Okay, this made me laugh. I didn't understand it first, but then I realized, for any concerned people out there, I'm referring to the Yorkie chocolate bars and not Yorkie dogs. I remember very vividly, one day, sitting at the lunch table with my second grade class. A kid down the table picked up his orange juicy juice box and said, "I can suck this baby down in 2 seconds flat." He did. Reader. I married him. 20 years later. Ants. Lots of ants. I have a vague memory of being woken up by my mom, telling me that we should leave our small wooden house immediately. Fast forward and I'm looking at our house absolutely full of ants, crawling through the walls, covering the entire structure of that small shack we used to live in. I could even see some ants carrying cockroaches that were inside the house, now becoming food for that unstoppable army. Then they just went away. It was like our house was just in their way and they moved on. We lived nearby a small river, lots of trees and such. I don't know how legit is this memory. Maybe my child perspective made things look 10 times worse, but I can vividly see this. Peeing in my garage in front of all my friends. My dad was pissed. Did you pee on your dad? This was so easy but I laughed so hard. I saw my father being held at gunpoint in his bank in Guadalupe in his first day on the job. That must have been rough. I was way too young to remember anything, and my father had been warned that a white dude like him settling in a bank wouldn't be too popular. So even though he was probably scared shitless when this happened, this is now a funny anecdote he tells at every family dinner. I think I was about 3, which means my brother was 5. We went to a friend of my mom's house. The lady had 3 sons. All of the boys got to go play in the yard on their slip and slide, but I had to sit at the kitchen table with the moms, doing nothing while they talked and talked forever. I was really mad. At the time I thought it was because I was the only girl. In hindsight, maybe it was because I was too small and they thought I would get hurt. Still, they could have given me something to do. I would get so angry when my mom would make me sit there and do nothing for 30 to 90 minutes while she chatted with someone. This was long before cell phones, and I guess it didn't occur to me or my mom to have me bring a book, because they were always just a quick trip. So I literally sat there staring at a wall in silence, which now that I think about it, is exactly the same as putting a kid in timeout. No fucking wonder I would get so pissed off about these quick trips to pick up XYZ. My mom had a friend over and they were hanging out on the back patio. My dad came and got me with a mischievous look on his face. He lit a smoke bomb and threw it out a second-story window so it landed in the grass. And we both giggled. The women didn't react at all. Just, huh, Dad must have thrown that. For some reason, I wrestled with a goose. Fucker got me pinned down and pecked on chest throat while I use all my strength as a 7-year-old kid trying to choke its long neck. Dad came to rescue me and then I cried until I was asleep. I was a kid in the 1970s. I remember that for America's bicentennial, President Ford wanted everyone to ring their doorbells at 2 p.m. on July 4th, 1976. I don't remember that, but I remember bicentennial mania, including loaves of bread that had bicentennial trading cards in the Monsieur. You'd get a new package of bread that came with a trading card with Benjamin Franklin in some kind of action pose. At first I was envisioning the cards baked into a loaf of bread. I also remember pretending to be a chef and I took a bowl and put mud, grass, clovers, dirt, and water in it while commentator about the creation of the dish. I once peed my bed and got up to go tell my mom. But when I walked into the hallway there were inches of water on the ground because the washer had flooded it. I just sat down on the floor, in the dark, and cried because I thought I had flooded the house with my pee. When I was 8 I first learned about sex. So the following day I went up to all my friends' parents in the public swimming pool that everyone went to because it was summer, and kept saying stuff like, "Did you have sex? You had sex. Did you have sex to make Hayden?" etc., all while laughing, and then wondering why they all looked so offended. Despite me clearly understanding it was a taboo subject, my dad swiftly took me home once he learned. I guess one of the parents must have eventually complained. I even remember being like, I wished Connor's mom was there, then I could have asked her. Yeah, that reminds me of when I asked my babysitter if she knew about sexing and she started to laugh. And I didn't know why. She explained to me that it was called having sex. This was probably 1990. The weird punching balloons the vendors sold outside the Central Park Carousel in NYC in the 70s. The carousel itself was something really special back then. A very unusual type of thing for NYC at the time. The garbage didn't get picked up regularly and the subway station platform smelled so powerfully of piss it was something you just never got used to. As you can imagine, the playgrounds were minimal at best. Most places kids had to go were these playgrounds with just metal slides that scorched your flesh, splintery seesaws that you were easily catapulted off of, metal swings that pinched your fingers, filthy sand pits, and these monkey bars that were just bars constructed to be about 10 to 12 feet high. Almost everyone I knew broke a bone falling of these things. This is not forgetting the decor theme was broken concrete everywhere, a day of playing would leave half of us almost needing skin grafts. You will likely think I am exaggerating for poetic or humorous purposes, but this is not the case. There was one playground that actually had a little metal silo with a ladder inside with a winding slide to take you down, and I thought this was basically Disneyland. So you can imagine the magical place an actual ride like the carousel was. As rusty and grubby as it was then. $25 a ride, if I recall correctly. But I digress. Now that I set the scene, let's talk balloons. There were balloon vendors right by the carousel, and near the children's zoo. Another 70s bizarrety at the time. And only there, they had regular helium balloons. This was before the fancy Mylar ones. Just regular party balloons. But helium was a big novelty for us. They sold those vinyl blow-up animals. And then there were what we called punching balloons. By my memory, these punching balloons were special, purpose-built and made of a much thicker and heavier rubber. They blew up to be a perfect sphere about 18 to 24 inches in diameter and had a little nipple-like protrusion on the top. They were filled with a handful of rice. The opening was folded inside itself like a belly button to seal it. And a big, red rubber band was attached to the nipple. You put the rubber band around your wrist and you punched the balloon, like playing paddle ball with it. And it made a rustling sound with the dry rice inside. That's really all it was, but we fucking loved these things. Who even thought of rice-filled balloons with regular air? That all you did was punch them. They have disappeared from the city and I think from most memories. An odd little thing that somehow captures the time for me. Awesome description of the punching balloon. I had forgotten all the details about it, but I loved them too. Also, there was a play structure at the playground I grew up with in the 70s that was shaped like a submarine. It was huge. Like, so big that if a kid were to fall from the top it could have killed them. I myself got the breath knocked out of me when I fell from just the side of it. Good times. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.